Well, if you follow the channel for a little while now, you probably recognize this Toyota behind me from a trail video that I posted earlier in the year. Well, today I'm here with my buddy Rick, who owns this rig, who's built it, who wheels it all over, and we're going to get to go on a full tour of this vintage rock crawler. Hey everybody, welcome to 4x Trail. I'm Caleb and I'm here with my buddy Rick to check out his 85 Toyota pickup. Man, you've done a lot to this thing. I'm excited to dive in. Before we start, if you're not yet subscribed, I want to welcome you to join the 4x Trail team by hitting that subscribe button. It's a great way to get free content if you enjoy off-roading, wheeling, hitting trails, doing build walk-arounds like this, how-to videos. Hit that subscribe button and get some free content to inspire you on your next adventure. All right, man, we're gonna walk around this thing, but I just wanna hear a little bit of the story. Like, how did you come to acquire it? I'm guessing it looked a little different back then than it does now.
I'll show you a picture. I've got the photograph in there.
We'll put that picture up so you can see.
So I had a Blazer. I had a first generation Blazer, and I wheeled the heck out of it and you know, built it a couple of times, as you always do. You build it once and realize that's wrong, and you build it again.
Right.
But it was getting to the point where that thing was getting pretty valuable, and it needed to be rebuilt again. So I said, I'll get something smaller. And I knew what Toyota I had to have. I had to have, in '85 was the last year for the solid axle.
Okay.
And if you got the SR5, you got fuel injection.
Oh, nice.
And so I knew
in 85,
the 85 SR5, it is the unicorn of Toyota pickups.
Wow.
And I knew that I had to have an extra cab just for the room,
a little extra room,
just for the space, and I didn't have to look very long before I found this one, and it was absolutely stock, and it was in beautiful condition.
Wow.
Not for long, but.
And you have a first gen Tacoma as well that you've set up more as an overland.
That's more of an overland
kind of rig. Okay, but this is set up. I mean,
to follow guys like you around.
Yeah, right. To hit the harder stuff. Yeah. But you also take this long distance on the road.
I drive it to Moab every year. I drive it to Colorado every year. And
That's amazing.
It's done the Rubicon. I've driven it and done the Rubicon 3 times.
From Phoenix to the Rubicon Trail. Wow. That's awesome, man. Well, we're going to dive in. Let's start at the front of the truck, and we'll start there. Where to begin? What's the bumper situation? Is this fabbed or?
Oh no, this is off the shelf. It's either Marlin crawler or trail gear. I can't remember. I think this one's trail gear, and the rear one's Marlin.
Okay.
And they were relatively inexpensive. When I bought this thing, it had those big 3-inch tube Smitty belts that everybody had back in the 80s.
Sure.
And they were worthless. But a lot of this stuff, like the winch and lights and stuff, is stuff that my friend Nigel, who you know from wheeling with the supercharged JL.
Yep.
He was, when I bought this, we wanted to go wheel in a hurry, and this thing was not ready to go.
Okay.
So Nigel got on the internet and found me this stuff on Craigslist and whatever was available back in 2005.
So this build started, that's a good point, started in 05-ish.
I bought it in March of 05.
Okay. Wow, man, that's awesome. Yeah, so you got synthetic line winch.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah,
Have you had to use it much?
I think Nigel found that winch, and it has been used, and mostly for bailing other people out. But yeah, it's been used.
So these are just some KC
These are the old KC,
right?
the old school KCs, and I don't know what these are. These are just some things.
But you have a mixture halogen LED. There you go. Some old and new school. That's cool.
They're not like the modern lights, but you know, these things actually put out quite a bit of light.
Yeah. Okay. What's the story with the Mac dog on it?
You know what? Years ago, I worked at a truck wash, and that's where I learned to drive trucks, is at this truck wash. And so somebody had one of these things, and he gave it to me off one of his old Mack trucks, and I threw it in a box, and that was back in the 70s.
Wow.
And I was, you know, when I retired, I'm digging through all these boxes, throwing junk away, and I found this, and I go, I've got a perfect place for that.
That's awesome. I love it. So what do we have as far as, obviously these are solid axle.
Yep, this is the last year for the solid axle.
Oh, okay. 85 was the last year.
85 was the last year for the solid axle.
That's interesting. So have you had to do any strengthening of that, or?
I haven't. In 85, they gusseted the axle a little bit more than the than the
Oh,
previous
nice.
ones.
Okay.
But they make aftermarket gussets. I'm not jumping this thing or anything like that.
Sure,
so
sure.
That's not an issue.
No, that's
But
great.
it's got long field chromoly Burfield axles in it that are, I think they're warranted for life.
Yeah.
They're crazy good.
And you've never had any issues with those?
I thought I broke one time in Moab, and I got home and took it apart and found out that the axles were still perfect. It was a ring and pinion that broke because of an installation. The guys that put it together didn't clearance the case when they put the locker in.
Okay.
But it went for like 10 years like that before it broke.
Get out, that's crazy.
But the axles were still, looked like they were brand new. So.
And what gearing is in this?
It's in 488s. It comes from the factory with 410s, and I put 488s in.
Okay, that's why I have in the Jeep with 37s.
Yeah.
We'll get to the tires in a second, but steering-wise, what have you had to do?
Well, it's the only thing that I did that had the old push-pull steering, came from the factory, and I upgraded to the crossover steering. So this stuff is all up much higher now. And I had to put a newer steering box on it, and it also moved the axle 3 inches forward. And it's a kit. You buy it from All Pro Off-Road.
Okay.
Everything but the steering box comes with it, and it's pretty brilliant. It was a game changer. It made a lot of difference.
What do we got going on in here? So this engine-wise first,
This is the 22RE, the fuel-injected 22R.
Amazing.
This is the first year they did fuel injection on these.
Yep.
And at 310,000 miles, I just bought a new motorcycle and I was towing it home on my trailer and the head gasket blew.
Wow.
And I thought, well, I'm just gonna redo the whole engine. So I sent it off to 22RE Performance in California.
Oh, great.
And they threw the head away and built me a nice engine, and it's been great. It's still a slug, but I tried to get a little bit more horsepower, and I'm sure it is a little bit better, but it's still a 22RE.
It sounds pretty good when you wind it up. I'll show a clip right here.
Stay straight. Come on up. Come on up. Stay straight. Woo! Yeah.
But I bought this stuff. I bought this header and this stuff from a company years when I first bought this thing. Was it Downey? I can't remember who it was, but they're long since been out of business. This header, I don't know who made it, but it's been really good. It's always been fine. And
that's great. You got the cold air intake in there. And exhaust work besides the headers. Anything in the?
Yes, it's got a MagnaFlow. All the way back.
Nice. Nice, and I see you got your ARB compressor here. That's for the lockers.
That drives the locker, and it's got so I can, if I've got lots of time on my hands, I can also reinflate my tires with it.
Nice. CO2 takes care of that.
That's right.
Yeah, you got CO2 for that. And radiator, this is a bigger radiator, obviously.
Well, yeah, when I bought a brand new stock radiator for it when I put the new engine in. And for some reason, it wasn't overheating, but it was running a lot hotter than I liked for it to. And I thought, well, everything was new. Everything related to cooling system was new. And so I took the radiator back to the people I bought it from, and they flow tested and said it's working fine. And I ended up just getting this.
A little better flow rate.
Yeah, and that solved the problem.
I love it. All right, well, let's head to the side and we'll talk tires, suspension, all that good stuff.
Everything's completely changed. When I did the crossover steering thing, that's when I did the second lift, and the rear springs are custom, and these were I think I bought these. I think these springs came with the crossover steering kit.
Okay.
So I think they're still 4 to 5 inch, made to accommodate 35 inch or even 37. I could probably put 37s in it if I was geared properly for it.
So you didn't have to re-gear when you went from 33s to 35s? You just...
I did not. I was geared perfectly at 33s. I was geared perfectly with 488s for the 33-inch tires. Now I'm not geared perfectly.
Yeah,
but it's perfect. It's fine on the trail, but on the road, it's underpowered to begin with.
Sure.
So now, if there's even a hint of a hill, it's it's grabbing gears.
Right. And this is a manual.
It's a manual.
So 5 speeds. Is
Yep.
That right? Okay.
Yep.
And did you have to do anything with the transfer case or the?
Well, it's got a dual transfer case in it.
Okay.
And that was probably the biggest thing that I did to it.
Okay.
As far as it would do all the trails, all the obstacles before, but man, you could smell, sometimes the clutch smell would run you out of it. Now, I'm off the clutch all the time. It's put in low, and
Amazing, okay. So you'd say that's probably the biggest game changer?
That's probably the biggest game changer, yeah.
Okay, dual transfer case,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And the front locker. Front locker was big too, for following guys like you around.
Yeah, right,
You know,
right.
I mean, I thought it was fine before, but you know,
Yeah.
that made a big difference.
And you have, we'll get to the rear, I guess, in a minute, but do you have front and rear lockers in
Yes,
this? Okay.
yeah, this is an ARB air locker, selectable air locker in front.
Okay, nice, nice. And that's been pretty problem-free?
It's been completely problem-free.
That's great.
So, yeah, it's been amazing. I thought, hey, you know, those fragile little plastic air lines and stuff like that.
Sure,
and,
sure.
But it's been absolutely fine.
Just basic steel wheels, right?
These are $50 a piece steel wheels,
That's
you know.
great.
And this is, I think, the second set that I've had on it. The other ones, you know, well, the deal was, the last set of tires I bought, these guys had these wheels sitting around, and they said, well, for an extra 25 bucks, we'll throw these wheels in.
Sure.
They're exact same ones that were on it before, so I bought them.
Oh, that's great.
They're, you know, if you bend them, you just hammer them back into shape.
Yeah. Yeah, the KM3s, how do you like those?
I've run these forever, and but they work pretty well. You know, everybody's trying all the different stuff. I've always stayed with the BFGs.
So while we're here at the side, let's talk a little bit of the armor. You got the sliders, and then we'll kind of get to the drivetrain underneath.
All right, these are I think all pro rock sliders. They're weld on the frame.
They're beefy, yeah.
They're good. Yeah, they're really good.
Looks like they've taken a few
They've
hits.
yeah, they've seen some action.
Yeah,
And this, you know, this is pretty important. If you bash this, then you've got problems. You know?
Sure.
So that's the first thing. One of the first things I did to this, and to my Tacoma as well. You know.
I don't always like the look of tube sliders, but they fit so well on this. I mean, I really like the look of it too. It's just a clean, classic look.
Yeah, you can't really use them as steps, but you can use them as steps to access the roof. But
Sure.
you know, you can't. They don't help you get in.
And underneath, do you have skids or?
Yes. I have this skid plate. When I did the dual transfer case, this big beefy skid plate
Okay.
was I installed.
And then drive shafts, I'm assuming those are heavier duty drive shafts?
Well, this one, the one that I've got in here now, is for going to driving to up to Colorado. I know the trails up there are not going to be a problem with this drive shaft. The one
Okay.
that I use when I'm chasing you guys around is a great, because this is the weak link. This is really exposed.
Okay,
And I've bent and broken a few drive shafts because of that.
okay.
So the one I've got that I use on hard trails
Uh-huh.
is it's 250 wall, which is 1/4 inch wall.
Wow.
It's really heavy, but it'll support the entire weight of the vehicle.
And then the front is,
I think this is a Marlin.
while we're on the side, what's up on top here? You got the cab, obviously. What type of this?
This is made by, it's a company that doesn't exist anymore, Gemtop,
Oh yeah.
out of Oregon.
Yeah,
Gemtop,
yeah,
they
yeah.
made really good stuff. And this is metal, and
It matches, great. Did you have a paint
this
match? or-
was on it when I bought it.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's been twisted so many times that it's starting to disintegrate. But-
Sure.
So, you know, time will come and I'll throw it away. But I haul stuff on the roof and when I'm traveling. All these modifications were caused following my friends around.
That's right, that's right.
This is what happens when you
Price
take
of doing
when you
business.
take a knife to a gunfight, you know.
Oh man, no, this thing is a blast to watch on the trail. I mean, it really is. Well, let's head to the back and
All right.
we'll see what's going on back there. I got to start with the license plate. It's Misadventure.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Any story behind that?
Well,
or
I
a
belong to
clever-
a group called Adventure Riders. It's off-road motorcycle, you know.
Oh, the adventure bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of those, and
Nice.
and so I've belonged to these guys for a long time, and I just thought Misadventure would be a
Perfect.
perfect
yeah.
name for this thing.
I love it. And so, continuing the tube slider theme, you got these
This is
built-in.
a Marlin crawler bumper,
Okay.
and you know I've drug it plenty of times because
Yeah.
of the overhang on this thing, but it's got a you know, I tow my little motorcycle trailer with it, and it does all right.
And you're heading out on a trip here soon,
Yep.
right? You're
Yep.
heading up to
I'm getting ready to go up to Ouray, Colorado.
Okay.
There's I go to Ouray every year to do the trails up there. I love it.
Ah, it's one of the best places ever.
And there's in Dolores, Colorado, there's a adventure riders or adventure group outing. So I'm just
great.
killing two birds with one stone. So I'm towing my motorcycle behind.
That's awesome. So not only are you taking this thing on the highway for, what, 8 hours or so, but you're towing your adventure bike. That's great, man.
Yeah,
That's
this thing's
great.
not real crazy about the idea, but it'll do it.
That's great. So in the back, obviously 488s.
And this axle is from a 90 out of a 91. The first generation, the generation right after this, in 86 when they went with the independent front suspension, the axles front and rear were 3 inches wider.
Okay.
And so this axle is out of a 91 because on the stock axles, the tire would stuff up against the frame. And so the solution was, we'll just go get one of the wider axles,
Sure.
and that solved that problem. And I just had to put 1.5 inch spacers, wheel spacers on the front.
Okay. So this CB antenna?
This is a CB antenna. I've still got the CB still in there, but nobody uses them anymore. Everybody's
Yeah,
got
I've got the handheld little
yeah,
deal,
yeah, that's
right?
what so I've got both. Here I've got this kind of decked so that I can store my recovery gear and tools under here and
Perfect. That's
store
great.
junk on top. This is where I attach my refrigerator when I'm traveling.
Okay.
I attach it here and I've got my power run back to
Auxiliary
here.
power, yep.
Yep.
That's all you need.
This works pretty good.
That's great. Do you do any solar, like,
I do
stuff
have,
on this?
I have a 100-watt solar panel that runs and I have a auxiliary battery and a box, you know, like you've seen those
the
things.
Jackery type?
Yeah, except mine's old school. It's got a great big battery. It weighs 85 pounds.
This is a well-loved interior right here. So separate temp gauge.
I put that in when it was overheating because I wanted to make sure that the factory temperature gauge wasn't malfunctioning. So now I've got both.
Well, it's been a good walk around, man. What advice do you have if someone's out there that they want to build up a truck like this, an older vehicle?
Well, I would say that parts are, there's tons of aftermarket support for this vehicle.
Okay.
And for these old Toyotas. And I would say, and there's also lots of online resources to learn. And I would encourage anybody that wants to do one of these things to do their due diligence and do their research and build it once instead of having to do it over and
Oh,
over
man,
like
isn't that
I
the
did.
truth?
It's so much cheaper if you learn what you need to do and do it right the first time.
Yeah, cry once, as they say.
That's right.
Well, it's so cool just having a vehicle that's got fresh life breathed into it and it's still going. I mean, you're heading to Ouray next
This thing
week.
will outlive me.
Yeah, it's so awesome, man. Thanks so much. And hopefully you enjoyed this. If so, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone you think would enjoy it too. And we'll see you guys soon in the next video.